exists because we allow it, and you will end because we demand it.
A group of sentient beings that go from planet to planet, strip mining their resources, leaving them an empty shell of what they once were before inevitably being destroyed. No, this is not the enemy concept of Mass Effect. This is actually the EA business model that they seem to be following and have actually been following for a while. When I first made the correlation between EA and the Reapers, it started off as a joke. But as I started digging into the company and doing more research into what EA's been up to for over the past 30 years, it's starting to look more like a reality. EA, the company, was originally started in 1982, and in 1987 they made their first studio purchase, and they've been purchasing studios since that time. Over the course of 32 years, they have shut down 14 studios that have brought us franchises we have all grown to love and respect. And now with EA pulling out of 2019's E3, they're trying to pass it off as E3 is old and becoming played out. It's actually deeper than that. They feel there is no money to be made at E3, and there is no reason to entertain their fans any longer on a stage. The even scarier part is all these studio shutdowns started in 2001, and it is only 2019. That puts it roughly around the average of every year and a half. EA is literally putting out hundreds of people out of work. People thought the greed of EA was made apparent in Star Wars Battlefront 2, but they've been a very greedy company for a lot longer than that. This game company completely does not care what they have to do to make their profit margins, and some of their profit margins are in the billions. I understand money is what makes the world go round, but sometimes greed will corrupt a company completely all the way to the core. Amy Hennig, the one who's responsible for the stories in the Uncharted series, and who is also working on the story for the canceled Star Wars game that was being developed at Visceral Studios that was shut down by EA, has stated in many recent interviews that the gaming industry is not only changing, but it is also becoming exceedingly difficult to get these game companies to want to sign off on AAA first-player experiences. She has pointed out that these game companies will simply walk you to the door if you try to come in and sell a one-player experience with little to no monetization in the game and no multiplayer. These game companies basically don't want to give a first-player experience because they feel there is no profit margin in it for them. They would rather have a game that is completely repetitive and monetized to an obscene nature. Now, EA is not alone in this train of thought, but they are one of the first big companies to pull out of E3, basically saying that they're going to probably be done with first-player experiences, which is completely asinine to me. We saw this in 2018 when the God of War reboot took Game of the Year, and through the huge praise that The Witcher 3 received for the game and all its DLC, CD Projekt Red has proved that you can make a first-player AAA experience and people will come to it in droves. All you need is polish and a story that works and some quality behind the product. Instead, they just look for you to get out your wallet and want to monetize the hell out of the game. If you want to see this monetization in full swing, just look at the FIFA series and the other EA sports games that they make. They are completely monetized to the max and they make revenue hand over fist. Now, this is also part of the consumer's problem in the fact that they have allowed EA to do this by monetizing stupid little things like shirts and jerseys. I have sat down with my wife and asked her a question. Her being a fan of The Sims 4, how would she appreciate when Sims 5 came out, if it ever does, that if they take the idea of Sims and they monetize the crap out of it, basically making every shirt, pants, shoes, animal, every little bit of the game costs a dollar amount. She told me she would no longer play the franchise if they ever did that. But for some reason, EA thinks that it's okay to shove this into every game that they're creating. And rather pay for these first player experiences, they would rather pay a reported $1 million to an alleged streamer who does have an extreme fan base, but to pay somebody $1 million to basically stream their game seems a little asinine. That money could be better used to creating experiences that would basically drive the brand. Instead, they would just waste it by giving it away, saying, hey, play our game for a few hours, and hopefully you don't talk crap about us later on in life. And to make the problem perpetually worse, EA blames all their problems on their developers and everything around them. E3 being played out and that there's no reason to go anymore. They've blamed DICE for the failure of both Battlefront 2 and the Battlefield 5. Really, what can these game developers do? EA is essentially holding their jobs on the line if they do not do as they are told. And each time one of these game developers does not follow through and come up with the product that EA wants with the revenue behind it that they were looking for, they all of a sudden have a target painted on their back. Basically, your ass is next.
Your extinction is inevitable. We are the end of everything.
And now that EA has ditched E3, I would like to say it's a red flag. They are completely out of ideas to shell out. They have ruined the Command & Conquer franchise by trying to put it on cell phones. They monetized the Star Wars franchise into oblivion. And their Anthem concept is not working out because they tried to force BioWare into creating a looter shooter. And they had no business doing that because BioWare makes some of the greatest first player experiences on the market. And that they had never considered putting that much monetization into their creations. I bring up DICE and BioWare because I am personally concerned for both of those companies. Moreover, DICE. With all the blame being put on them for Battlefield 5 and Battlefront 2, I feel they are probably going to be the first that get clipped. But BioWare 2 seems to have a target painted on their back as well because of what's going on with Anthem. I really hope they turn it around. I enjoy all of these games. I played Battlefield 5 and I enjoyed it. But obviously EA says that they're not making the money they're looking for, and so they're worried more about their profit margins and they're going to get rid of yet another great group of companies. I feel if EA was to go back to their roots and start worrying about more of a first player experience, they would probably see more success in this venture. I grew up playing Mass Effect religiously, all the games, including Andromeda, and I enjoyed them all. If EA was to remaster the first 3 games and put them out on disc or digital, people would be buying them left and right, and they would probably find some of the money return that they're looking for. But instead, they would like to produce more of these cheaper multiplayer games that have extreme amounts of monetization, and they don't even care anymore about first player experiences.
Shepard.
Regretfully, this business practice is probably not going anywhere because of the extreme surge in massive multiplayer online games like Fortnite, Apex Legends, and PUBG. And we're all seeing how the market would rather have a repetitive online multiplayer that would just take the place of first player experiences.
Talk to the council. Convince them to help us.
I really hope EA does not can either DICE or BioWare or any other company for that fact. But that's to be decided by them. All we can do now at the end of this video is just pay our respects to the companies that are no longer with us as a result of EA, and just hope that they will change their actions.
Good luck.
I am Centurion 1307, and I thank you for listening.
Before us, you are nothing. You cannot escape your doom. This exchange is over.